if that's something that you guys want to do more often, that's something that the administration is using. It doesn't really cost them.
Oh, I guess we're streaming. Fun. Okay. Good evening, everybody. This is Vaughn Darian. I'm the chair of the Oakland County Democratic Party. We're here tonight with our second of 4 candidate forums for the 4 countywide races. Tonight, we're going to be doing the forum for the Oakland County Treasurer. We have with us Councilman Bob Corbett from Madison Heights and State Representative Robert Wittenberg from Madison Heights, Hazel Park, I believe, Ferndale, Huntington Woods, Oak Park. Robert, did I get all those correct?
It's Berkeley, Huntington Woods, Oak Park, Ferndale, Pleasant Ridge, Hazel Park, and Royal Oak Township, not Madison Heights. That's my good friend Jim Ellison in Madison Heights.
Your friend and mine. All right. So as we did before, we're going to be going back and forth between the 2 candidates. They're each going to get a chance to speak. We're going to give each of them a chance for about a 3-minute introduction to talk a little bit about themselves and their service so far. And then we'd like to hear from you. We'd like to get some feedback from you. If you have any questions as you're watching this, please type them in the chat or send them to us, and we will try and pass them along to the candidates as quickly as we can. A little bit of housekeeping. This video, like the previous one, will be posted on YouTube after we're done with the streaming. And we would ask you to please subscribe to our email list. Make sure you're following us on Facebook. Make sure that you are subscribed to our make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. And as we're rolling into campaign season, if you're able to give us a couple dollars here and there, we'd really like to get our recurring donations, our small dollar donations increased a little bit. So even if you can chip in $5 or $10 a month, it's going to make a big, big difference for us as we move in through the election season. So we drew for positions before we began the stream. And Councilman Corbett, you have the first introduction. So I'm going to throw it to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to address our constituents in Oakland County this evening and then on the repeats. My name is Bob Corbett. I'm a member of the Madison Heights City Council. Currently, I'm serving my 6th 4-year term. I was elected 20 years ago, and I have served on the council since then. I have quite a bit of background on the various committees and so on involved with zoning and economic development within the community. I have also served as Mayor Pro Tem on 2 different occasions. I am a local guy. I was born and raised in Madison Heights. I attended the University of Detroit Mercy. I graduated from Bishop Ford High School in Madison Heights. And I have been a member of the Democratic Party, supporting its efforts for many years. I started politically active in 1972. I was a student, a McGovern delegate to the 1972 Democratic State Convention. And since then, I've served a number of terms as precinct delegate. I'm running for Oakland County Treasurer. I think it's important that we continue the progress that we've made over the past few years, especially under Treasurer Meisner's work. I think I bring two areas of qualifications. I do believe I am uniquely qualified to serve in that role. I think in terms professionally, I have been a real estate broker now for 35 years. I have seen firsthand the economic devastation, the unfairness, really, of many of the laws that we have in place with respect to foreclosure. I had to sit and help a number of families for many years work through the trauma of the 2008 recession, which was a lot more like a depression, at least in our areas, in the inner ring cities of Oakland County, which border Detroit and are the industrial hub of Oakland County. Beyond that, I've also, over the 20 years on the city council, I have quite a bit of crisis experience. Unfortunately, I've been on the council now for 3 recessions. And that's not the kind of experience you like, but I think that's the sort of experience that you need. In the last recession, now we work, City of Madison Heights is a city manager form of government. We work as a collegial group, making decisions with the professional management. But at one point or another, I've had to completely evaluate everything from financing to layoffs to deficit, to cutbacks in our budget to avoid deficits. And in all of these things, we were able to persevere. We maintained our police and fire services locally. We actually, at the end of the recession, we were able to improve our rating higher than when we went in. That was not easy. It was the cooperation with our unions and with our workers that got that done. Unfortunately, I'm concerned that that's exactly what we're going to be looking at down the road. I'm afraid that this pandemic is going to create a lot of disruptions in our revenue stream and our valuations of property. And the treasurer plays a key role, not only in terms of maintaining the money, investing it, and so on, but also in terms of the quality of advice that's given to the county executive and to the county board in their decisions regarding budgeting. So as the evening goes on, I hope we have a chance to maybe talk about some of those issues looking down the road and the impact on our communities. But thank you very much for the opportunity to speak this evening. And regardless of what happens, I think it's important that we elect a progressive in November who's going to be able to continue the work of Mr. Coulter, Mr. Meisner in their various roles. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Corbett. Representative Wittenberg, your introduction.
Thank you, Oakland County Democratic Party. Thank you, Vaughn. Thank you, Alex, and everyone who's tuning in now and who might be watching this later. I know my time is limited for this opening statement, but I would be remiss if I didn't talk about what's happening in our country today. Even as we're recording this now, President Trump is on the air. So I'll get to why I'm running and what my vision is for Oakland County, but I want to talk about something else first, because my heart is heavy, and I think it's important to talk about the racism and injustice that is in clear focus right now. And this isn't a new phenomenon. We're seeing it in law enforcement. This is also a pervasive problem throughout society. And we know that the racist history of our country, we know it, from slavery to racial covenants in housing to George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Sandra Bland, and the thousands of other Black people who have been murdered for no other reason than for just being Black. And I've seen Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence speak countless times on the campaign trail and when it comes to speaking to audiences. She's passionate and, she's inspirational. And many times she's spoken about the complicated history of our country, that slaves built the Capitol, and that she is now able to work in that same building, but that there's still a long way to go. Last legislative session, I sat on the House floor next to my dear friend and colleague, Sherry Gay Dinogo, and it felt like every single day that there was another incident of racism in the national news, from someone getting the cops called on them because they were Black and having a picnic, to a man having the cops called on him when he tried to cash a check at his own bank, to the many other lives lost. And every time I would always apologize to Rep. Gay Dinogo, and I would say, I will never know what it's like. I know I'm privileged. I recognize that from where I came from and where I grew up. So I always asked her, what can I do to help? And then I would listen. So I think it's incumbent upon all of us, if we could all listen and truly make the necessary systemic changes, we could start to heal as a nation. And it's not easy to segue from that, but I just want people to know that I promise, if I'm elected as treasurer, that I will listen and I will raise up the voices and concerns of the marginalized. I think it's important we as leaders and elected officials, we need to give everyone what they need by asking them what they need, not just telling them what they should have. So I promise if I'm elected, I will fight for the Black and brown residents of Oakland County as treasurer. And I wanted to get that off my chest to start with. So if I have a little bit of time left on, I want to say I'm running for Oakland County Treasurer. I guess I didn't even officially introduce myself, but I'm Robert Wittenberg. I'm a third-term state representative down in Southern Oakland County, representing all those communities that I mentioned at the very beginning. I was also born and raised here in the district, representing the community that I grew up in. I went to Berkeley High School. I am the proud product of the Berkeley schools. My father served on the school board. My mom is just retired last year. She's an MEA teacher over in the Warren Fitzgerald School District. And personally, I love helping people. And that's why I'm actually in public service. And so I want to continue helping people all across the county. You know, I'm term limited in the state house. Andy Meisner has done a great job. And obviously he is running for county executive. So it's an open seat. And I think my background as a licensed life and health insurance agent to my work in the legislature, that I have the skills needed to be the next Oakland County Treasurer. And so just quickly, my priorities, and I know we'll cover more during the questions, but my priorities are the financial security and well-being of every resident in Oakland County, helping to recruit new businesses while supporting existing ones, and maintaining our AAA bond rating. And you know, I'll get into a lot more as the evening goes along, but obviously just want to have a conversation with all of you to just, you know, show why I think I'm the best candidate for the job, and for both the primary and the general election to win and keep this seat in Democratic hands come November. So thank you, Vaughn.
All right. Thank you, Representative. So the first question is going to come from me. And something that I learned, especially when I was researching for this forum and also for the Sheriff's Forum the other night, is that by and large, a lot of these positions are administrative positions. And it seems as though both of you come from more of a legislative background. So can you talk to me a little bit about experience that you've had being an administrator, running a department or running a large project, and how you think that would translate to your term if you should be elected as county treasurer? And State Representative Wittenberg, you're first on this one.
Thank you, Vaughn. Yeah, I mean, I think I have a background from everything I've done professionally as well as an insurance agent, and having my own insurance agency and you know, managing a department. I've been a manager even from when I was in high school all the way through. I was a manager of restaurants and businesses. So I think I have that experience. But additionally, obviously serving in the legislature, you know, we are running our own offices. We have our legislative offices. So I've had a staff within the office. And I think you're right. I mean, this is an administrative position, but it's important to have someone who can work really well with people. And I think that's really important. I think that's something you've seen out of me in the legislature, right? That I've been a progressive leader in Lansing, but I'm able to work across the aisle, build coalitions, and actually get some things accomplished. And so I think the most important thing you want for someone in this position is someone that's trustworthy, right? Someone that's proven themselves as a leader. And I think that's something I've been able to do. Someone that's transparent. You know, as a legislator, I host, obviously pre-COVID, I would host 2 coffee hours every single month. I was always accessible to people, answering every call, email, and staying really active. And so I think it's really important to have someone who is honest, transparent, trustworthy, and then additionally has that experience running an office or running a business. I think that will translate really well. And then additionally, I actually serve currently as the treasurer for an organization, for the Tri-Community Coalition, one of our community coalitions here in the district. So I think I've really built up a strong resume to be able to come in on day one and continue doing the work that Treasurer Meisner has done. I have relationships with a lot of the people that already are serving in that office. And so I'd love to come in and continue and carry the torch of what he's doing and bring a fresh perspective and a set of eyes to the office as well.
All right. Thank you, Representative. Councilman Corbett.
Oh, thanks. Well, I have experience having run a business now for 43 years, my own, and stayed afloat, and importantly, through good times and bad times. Whatever we're going through now is not my first rodeo. I've gone through several recessions. As I said, I really believe that a lot of the experience that I had serving in the collegial body with the city council directly translates. For example, in one session, it was a one phone call, ask about refinancing some existing municipal bonds that we had. That resulted in a $250,000 savings to the city of Madison Heights on the fire department bonds. Beyond that, we also have had to administrate a staff of over 50, 60 people. That's just the police department plus fire and the DPS. So really what I've had is a great deal of exposure to a lot of elements of administration. And I think that it is very important for the treasurer to be able to move both ways, because as a matter of fact, they don't necessarily act independently. The treasurer certainly has decision-making with respect to where to deposit money and that sort of thing, but also has to be an advisor and stay on top of the financial markets and assisting the commissioners. So I have a wide, between personal business for over 40 years and having worked through and guided the city successfully through several economic downturns and good investments in the good times too. I have quite a bit of background in this area. So.
Great. Thank you very much. Our next comment or our next question, we are going to go for some questions. We have a lot of good questions coming out of the chat, so I wanted to bring some of those into the discussion here. The first one I'm going to go to here is actually the first question. Many of our county services have been underfunded for decades, specifically health and mental health departments.
Yes.
And talk about some plans that you have as treasurer to try and fix some of those problems. And this is to Councilman Corbett first.
Well, that's a tough one for the treasurer necessarily. The treasurer has to work in conjunction and make the coalitions to put that together. I think you're exactly right. I hear that all the time, specifically about the seniors and the mental health area in particular, about underfunding. The treasurer is able to sit down with people, work together in terms of financing, trying to obtain resources, whether it's in terms of grants, whether it's state or federal, that sort of thing. I think the key is really being a springboard, a sounding board on behalf of these agencies and their needs, and to represent it in the financing of the county. The county does have limited resources, but they need to be adequately appropriated to, for example, whether it's mental health or the physical or the aging. These are all exactly areas that are in need of that. So the treasurer plays a significant but small role in that overall funding picture, and it's important that they be utilized to help do that, to help expand the financing in those areas.
Thank you, Councilman. Representative Wittenberg.
Thank you, and I think Councilman Corbett is right on that. That ultimately, it's not necessarily in the purview of the treasurer, but obviously as an elected leader in the county, you can work with the county commissioners and work with the county executive's office, to make sure that we are funding our priorities and our values here in the county. But as the county treasurer, I think one thing that could really help is being really proactive and being around and available in the community. A lot of times people have issues. They can go through situational depression or have things going on, and finances can play a large part in that. And so making sure that we are educating people and helping people get to financial security, hosting events throughout the county to really help people. I think that's really important. And so I think as the treasurer, another thing you can do is, we have a little bit of a fund that we're able to, a discretionary fund that we're able to invest. And obviously, it's very conservative because it is taxpayer dollars, following safety, liquidity, and yield. But, there's some money there that ultimately, we have stuff that goes into the general fund. And so obviously making sure we're good stewards of our dollars here in the county, the treasurer is in charge of that. And so having those conversations with the commission and the executive's office to make sure that they are, having their priorities in having their priorities straight and making sure that these are issues. You know, I see this obviously at the legislative level, right? When we're voting on a budget, you know, here in Oakland County, our budget's just under $1 billion. At the state level, we're working on a budget of over $60 billion. And this is something that I hear from constituents all the time. And I think that's a whole other issue of, you know, our funding models in the state when it comes to, like, I've been a champion for the graduated income tax proposal. I think we've been cutting and cutting and cutting at a state level. And I think, unfortunately, that's what we've seen from, you know, the Republican Party. They've been cutting. And to me, you can't cut your way to all these different programs. You can't cut these programs and expect great things out of your state. So I think it's really important that we put our money where our mouth is, and we talk about education, we talk about mental health, all these different things. And so at a state level, I've been working on that. And so I would love to see that, you know, be able to translate that to the treasurer's office and have those conversations and make sure we are investing in the most important priorities for the county. Okay.
Next question is also still from the chat. And I'm going to combine two questions here. How high on your priority list are innovative programs that are being done in other communities, like financial empowerment centers, payday lending alternatives, or individual development accounts, savings accounts for lower incomes that will help lower income individuals that will help them build their assets? And what would you say is the number one new and innovative program that you would put into place if you were elected treasurer? And this one is going to go to Representative Wittenberg first.
I think that's a great question. And I think it's really important. So that's, you know, one of the key issues that I want to work on as the county treasurer. You know, when it comes to someone's home, that is the largest investment that most people are going to make in their lifetime. And so it's incumbent upon us to make sure that people understand their finances, and that we are going around and helping people to make sure that they're able to stay in their home, stay in their communities. And so financial empowerment is really important, and making sure we have classes teaching people. And I know that's something that has already been done. You know, Treasurer Meisner, that's one of the things he's been doing. And so that's something I would love to continue doing, and making sure that everyone in this county is able to thrive here, and making sure that they have the resources that they need. And so it's really important. And then I'm sorry, Vaughn, what was the second part of the question?
It was what is the number one new and innovative program that you will bring to the Oakland County Treasurer's office?
So I think it's important right now to actually have this conversation about, because, you know, coronavirus and the COVID-19 is going to have a lasting impact here on the residents in the county. The unemployment rate is really high. People are going to have trouble paying their bills. And so one of the things I really want to do is try to partner like public-private partnerships and put together a small business relief fund and a homeowner relief fund. So to make sure that people can stay in their homes. And so working with people to make sure that they are financially independent, make sure that they are able to pay their bills, and do everything we can to support them. And so there are some programs in place that the treasurer already has. But again, that's something I want to do, being a little more lenient with, unfortunately, there's a, the treasurer doesn't have a lot of discretion when it comes to your fees and your interest rate. It's set at the state level. And so that's something I'm actually working on currently. I would love to make some changes even before if I'm elected to the treasurer's office, working with our treasurer right now to give a little more discretion to the treasurer when it comes to the foreclosure process, fees, and interest rates. So those are some of the things I would love to do as the treasurer.
All right. Thank you, Representative. Councilman Corbett, question is to you.
Well, to kind of keep moving the conversation from where the representative was there, I think everything he said in terms of those partnerships, the sort of things that Andy Meisner has been working on, are really where they have to be at the local level in terms of empowerment. But to go all the way back to where the conversation started with the representative's comments on what's been going on in our communities and our streets, really at the key, we have to move forward with economic equality. Until all people can go into the financial marketplace on an even footing. And we all know that's not true, that we really will never get to the sort of society where these sort of things are at. Now, what that has got to do with the Treasurer's Office, the Treasurer's Office does bring considerable financial leverage to the table. And the representative talked about public-private initiatives. Those have got to be going on, but we can also do public, in other words, with the municipalities, the smaller communities and so on, go in and leverage specific housing programs, use our credit rating. I mean, doesn't do any good to have it sitting up in Pontiac on a shelf that we've got some high credit rating. We've got to be able to take it in to the neighborhoods. As I said earlier, I have unfortunately multiple experiences of people who have lost their homes. I've watched what that's like to a family. I've seen things that I don't care to try and remember, and I hope we don't do again. But we can use economic power of that office, whether it's in terms of the credit ratings, whether it's securing bonds, or putting initiatives together with the entire structure of the county government, whether it's the executive working in conjunction with the Board of Commissioners. But it's the sort of thing that won't make the front page of the newspaper, but it will put a family into a house or keep them in there down the road. And so I think the representative is right. These are the sort of things we need to be doing. And I think we can use our credit support and the economic muscle of the county to back these projects at the local level.
All right, thank you, Councilman. This next question is going to come back from me. I don't know if either of you had a chance to see it, but Treasurer Meisner and I had a conversation a few weeks ago where we talked about some of the challenges that the Treasurer's Office is facing right now because of the COVID-19 crisis. And one thing that he talked about a lot that he's really put a lot of work into is small business aid. And as we come out of this crisis, and the governor announced today that we are at stage 4, which means that small businesses, restaurants, and retail shops can start reopening on a more flexible basis. But we're going to have a lot of challenges. There are going to be businesses that have had hard times through the COVID-19 crisis. There are going to be businesses that have failed. And there's going to be a lot of people who are coming out of this who are going to look at opportunities and see a chance for themselves to become small business owners and entrepreneurs. So can you talk about some ways that you would use the powers of the Treasurer's Office to help all of those small business owners and potential small business owners get on their feet and get moving in Oakland County?
Right now in our community, Madison Heights, for example, we just initiated a matching program. The community raised, and I may have the numbers backwards here, but I think it was a matching grant out of the county, the development department. 10,000 was raised locally, and 13,000 came from the department. Together, almost $25,000 available in subsidies to small businesses. I think Treasurer Meisner is absolutely correct that the looking down the road, the small business community is definitely on the endangered species list. And that, we realize how many people that employs in Oakland County, let alone elsewhere. So I think that's a good idea. Again, it's the leveraging of the credit, the financial instruments that can be brought to bear, but also the treasurer is able to, there's something else. I know it leaves people a little cold when we talk about, well, the treasurer can only do so much. And that's true. A lot of the foreclosure laws and so on were, if it says you're at 180 days, at 181, there are certain things we have to do, certain fees we have to in place. But we do have the ability to bring a moral certitude with a little financial muscle behind it. And those kinds of things, again, working in conjunction with the legislators and our local officials really would make a difference, because it's going to be community by community that we save our small businesses.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Representative Wittenberg, same question to you.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a changing landscape, obviously, with everything going on with COVID. And a lot of these employers and employees have been able to work from home. And that might change the dynamics of businesses in Oakland County and their actual physical presence. And so I think it's really important for the Treasurer's Office to continue. There's, like an entrepreneurial boot camp where you can actually help people who are small business owners, help them, if they're already started, help them kind of expand their business. And then a lot of times we have people who have really good ideas, but just don't know where to go or how to get started. And so I think it's really important as a treasurer's office to have those programs and have these boot camps where people can come and they can learn and they can change that idea into a business. And so I think that's something that we're really going to have to push once we start to kind of get out of everything going on with this crisis. But I think it's really important at the treasurer's office that we can use the expertise that we have there and we can really support small businesses. And again, most of these small business owners, they live in the county as well. And so we want to make sure personally that they're in a good position as well. So I think there's a lot of different ways that we could try to help small businesses. I mean, most of the businesses in the county, right, and throughout the country and the state are typically small businesses. And so we want to do everything we can to try to support them. So I think in the treasurer's office, using the expertise that we have, having classes, having boot camps around the county where we can actually support people and teach them what they need to know to succeed in the business world.
All right, thank you, Representative. And this is going to be another question that we're bringing out of the chat here. But I think both of you at different times during this conversation tonight have brought up the county's AAA bond rating. And I know that that's something when we've talked kind of internally at the office here, we talk a lot about how one of the biggest challenges we have as Democrats is that voters do not automatically trust us with that kind of AAA bond rating. Brooks Patterson made that a big centerpiece of his tenure as county executive. So I want you guys to talk a little bit about what you think the greatest long-term challenge to the AAA bond rating is, not just COVID-19, but the biggest long-term challenge other than the nationwide crisis that we're in right now. And this goes to Representative Wittenberg first.
Well, it's hard to not talk about COVID-19 as the biggest challenge. I think that's kind of the elephant in the room. But I think the biggest challenge, obviously, is just making sure that we are fiscally responsible at the county level. And I think, I'm making sure I thought I was muted, but making sure that we are responsible at the county level and making sure that we are both, fiscally responsible, but socially conscious. When we look at the communities, right, when we talk about foreclosure, preventing foreclosure is a really important thing for the entire community because not only is it important for that person, right, this person can lose their house, but the whole neighborhood, right, could struggle. So it's really important for that. Also, when it comes to the AAA bond rate, it's really important because the local communities, as the councilman knows, right, they can leverage it and it helps for them when they need to bond or borrow. So it's really going to be important for us to be responsible, and I think we've done that. I think we've done a good job of that. I think our executive who's there now, Mr. Coulter, has done a really good job. I think if we keep the county commission, the board of commissioners in the hands of Democrats, we know we can be very fiscally responsible and socially conscious at the same time. I think it's incumbent upon us to balance those two things. And so long term, it's going to take a lot of hard work from all of us. But the most important thing is to make sure we're supporting everyone in the county and leveraging that AAA bond rating to be able to support everyone in the county. And if we continue to do that, I think it just, it continues going along, on that path, and then we will continue to succeed.
Thank you, Representative.
Well, I promised myself I wouldn't get too partisan tonight, but keeping a AAA rating, as Brooks bragged about, is not necessarily the toughest thing you're going to do. Doing it in a moral way where you're spending money on people that is imbued by your ethics and your morality, that's what's important. Not just certain communities that are north of a certain destination. We have to be fair to everybody. We have to remember who built the community, the county, all aspects of it. No, the AAA rating we are certainly able to preserve by just simply following our guidelines, following standard accepted practices in terms of transparency, openness, and diversity in our investments. But beyond that, where we spend the money is where it becomes important. We're spending it on our communities. We're spending it on all parts of the communities, not just where it's going to necessarily be politically advantageous to do. We have to remember all communities again, and the representative really spoke well at the beginning tonight. It's diversity. It's the importance of spending our money where our people are at, where the soul of our county is at. And that means everything from empowerment zones. That means supporting housing where we need to, programs to assist people. As I mentioned earlier, when you hit 180 days, you've got to go into the foreclosure process. But this shouldn't be a hidden ball trick. People should have transparent and easy access to counseling and support and know what their rights are. And that has not always been true. Somewhere later in the conversation, I'll talk about what it was like 40 years ago when I used to go visit the treasurer's office. And what it was like to try and find records. It's a lot easier now. It's a lot better. And a lot of it is due to the last 12 years of Democratic influence at the county level. So I'll circle back to that later. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman. This next question, I'm going to combine a couple of different things here. But I don't know if either of you had the chance to watch the State of the County address that Executive Coulter gave earlier this year. But one of the things that he talked about was bringing in businesses from new sectors that had not traditionally been.
I'm sorry, which sections?
Sectors.
Oh, okay.
Businesses from new sectors that had not traditionally been headquartered in Oakland County. So can you talk about some things that you would like to see, some different kinds of sectors, if there's a kind of industry that you think could prosper in Oakland County, and a way that you could attract them to give them an idea of bring them here and find a way to get them to set down roots in Oakland County?
Yeah, it wasn't that many, 25 years ago, Brooks used to brag about his emerging sectors program. He just ripped off Jim Blanchard, who had been doing it 10 years earlier. I'm not that great of a technological mind to be able to necessarily see ahead of these things. Clearly, the market's going to drive it. It isn't just going to be, it's not going to just be small businesses. We do have to have diversity in the silicone and in the telecommunications business. Obviously, those aren't going anywhere. But as far beyond that, I think it's a matter of being a place where people want to invest. Well, so whether you're a widget manufacturer from Arkansas, we want you to come here. We want you to know that our tax policies, our spending policies are in line and are conducive to building a market here for you, and going with that. So I guess it's more of an environment that I'm describing than necessarily a specific industry.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Representative Wittenberg, same question to you.
So a couple things. I'll take it kind of two different ways. One way I think what's really important is diversity in who actually owns and starts the business, right? That we talked about that at the very beginning, making sure that there's representation of all people in this county. And so I think it's important that we give opportunities to minority-owned businesses and do what we can to support them. And so I think that's really important. And women-owned businesses, I think that's really important for us to try to be an incubator for diversity when it comes to the people that actually own the businesses. Also, because of the changing landscape, I know I mentioned this, but the changing landscape with coronavirus, and now people starting to work a lot remotely, people are moving. You hear about this, and I have friends in my generation, right? They've been working for a company for some time. They're in a big city in New York or LA or somewhere like that. And they're able to now work fully remotely. And so they're actually looking to move back here, which would be amazing. I'd love to have my friends here. I'd love to get more people here in the state. But that's something as well, is that we can have, again, we're talking about these small businesses. They can incorporate here in Oakland County, even if they don't have an actual physical footprint in the county. I think that's something that we can really push because we have such an inviting, such an amazing county that people want to live in. Then people from all over the country hopefully will want to move here. So I think it's not necessarily a particular sector, but the kind of work people are doing that's important, and then the kind of people who are going to own and run these kind of businesses. So I think that's really important.
Great. Thank you so much, Representative. I got a question here to expand a little bit on something that you guys mentioned earlier. Can you guys give me specific examples, and this is going to go to Representative Wittenberg first. Give an example of how the county's bond rating, how that going up or down affects a home or a business owner in Oakland County. What are, again, we talk a lot about how the AAA bond rating, we almost talk about it as like a totemic kind of a thing, but give me some examples of ways that it would affect my life as an Oakland County property owner.
Well, so, I mean, the most important thing, right, is that all the cities, villages, and townships in the county, right, that they, as the county, we are able to back them, we are able to help them. So it's going to have an impact on your day-to-day life and everyone's day-to-day life in the county, because their local government, it gives them a leg up if they're able to leverage that AAA bond rating and then obviously make the investments in their community. And the same kind of thing when we were investing, we have the the local government investment pool, right? So we can leverage, with economies of scale, we have this pool that we can invest for all these local communities, and it saves them obviously on the cost, but also can give them bigger earnings or bigger interest on their investments. And so I think it's really important that it helps our local communities. We continue to help our local communities, and obviously our local communities, and the councilman can reference this. This is something I've talked about in the legislature as I sat down with all my mayors and city managers in the district, is that our municipal finance funding in this state is broken, and our local communities don't have the resources. When we're talking about revenue sharing, right? That our communities are continually asked to do more and more with less. And so this is something that can actually help local communities. And so this will have an impact directly on residents, because this has to do with your public safety, your sidewalks, all different things like that. So I think that's really important that we continue to leverage this to help communities.
As a guy who's been a real estate broker for 40 some years, I will tell you that the value of your home is probably the end result of any number of different things. Certainly the county bond rating has an effect. When you rewind the tape and you look where a community or an area or a county or region began to decline, those are the sorts of things where it started, where now all of a sudden the county couldn't fix X number of roads. That's a bad example, but couldn't expand certain infrastructure because their rating slipped. And then they didn't have that much money. They had to devote more towards interest payments. They weren't able to extend credit terms to their supporting community. So it's one of those things where if our credit rating dropped tomorrow, you wouldn't necessarily notice it in your property value. But I guarantee you would eventually, as it starts to have that cascading effect. The reverse is also true. Again, to go back to my friend Brooks Patterson, he was taking credit for a lot of stuff a lot of other people in communities were doing. And then the least of which was building up that credit rating by the development of communities, by intelligent zoning laws that were allowing newer communities to be built. Look out at the Wixom area there. They've done some really good work out there, and it had nothing to do necessarily with what was going on with Pontiac. Sometimes it's not getting in the way of progress that's almost as important as what you actively do. But there are things we can do. Infrastructure, we have to be able to maintain the top of the line of that. Buildings, and especially our out-county areas in terms of the roads there and so on that the county would be responsible for. Again, I'm starting wandering off the reservation on that one, but yeah, so it's a matter of we have to be able to afford to invest our money well and to spend it correctly.
Thank you, Councilman. This is going to be the last question of the night before we go to closing statements. And I wanted to talk about something that kind of was triggered by a conversation in the chat here. Pontiac, our county seat, has in recent years been kind of on hard times. And I think that as we have gotten control of more of the county commission, we've gotten more of the countywide offices in Democratic hands. I think that it's something that we should be looking at is specific ways to try and start getting Pontiac the resources that it needs to really get some redevelopment done and find ways to really make that into a brilliant and vibrant community. So can you talk specifically about any ideas that you have about using the treasurer's office to try and help give Pontiac and Pontiac residents the tools that they need to get that community really jump-started?
Is it me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I think we've talked about a number of the tools. I think for too many years, Pontiac it got patronizing nonsense out of the executive's office about trying to improve their improve different things, whether it was the housing, the roads, the schools, so on and so forth, and nothing that looked like real assistance, nothing that was like something that could be used. And we've talked about several times tonight, but it is a powerful instrument at our level in terms of leveraging our credit and our resources financing to enter into joint agreements to support programs, whether it's housing, whether it's road expansion or improvement, or whether it's the infrastructure. I would hope we've learned our lesson on infrastructure issues. And those sorts of things. And, you know, we're talking about an investment that will have an effect. This kind of goes to something that's bothered me for many years, that there is no part of the county that is any less important than anywhere else. If one section declines for whatever reason, it's going to have a cancerous effect on the whole. We have an obligation, we have an economic obligation to promote all aspects of the county, of the communities, and to do what we can to leverage what we can. Like I said, the treasurer's office is one element in a more complex financial system running the county, but has to be a good partner working with the executive and the county commission. And if we catch any kind of a break this year, it'll remain democratic and we'll be able to move some progress forward and continue in a number of areas.
Representative Wittenberg, question.
Thank you. So yeah, I would go back, you know, to kind of my opening statement, and then also what the councilman talked about earlier. You know, the Brooks and the Republicans really only cared about the communities north of Pontiac, and so I think it's really important for us. You know, Pontiac should be the heart of our county, and we need to do more. But it's not just for the infrastructure and upgrading infrastructure and investing in businesses, and so that's something we were talking about. But also all the people, the individuals that actually live there, and everyone that's there, trying to help people become homeowners, really make it a vibrant community. It's got a long and amazing history in the community, and so I think it's really important for us to you know, all the things that we're mentioning tonight, right, and making sure that we are supportive. We can't leave Pontiac behind. I know there's also been talk about moving the actual county seat into the downtown area instead of, you know, kind of a little ways out. And I think that's something we should absolutely look at. You know, I think we need to do everything we can to make Pontiac more vibrant. And they're, you know, they're heading in the right direction. But unfortunately, they were forgotten for some time under the Republican leadership at the county government. So I think it's really important for us to really make sure we're working to help the businesses, fixing the infrastructure, and all the people that actually live in Pontiac.
All right. Thank you, Representative Wittenberg. And now we're going to move to closing statements. And we are going to start again with Representative Wittenberg. So thank you for your time, both of you gentlemen. And I really appreciate this. I hope people found this as informative and interesting as I do. I definitely enjoy learning about county government and hearing people talk about the potential that they see in running for elective office. I know it's very difficult and challenging, and I do thank both of you for stepping forward to run for this office. But Representative Wittenberg, live TV, folks, your closing statement.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because a lot of people actually ask all the time, like, what the actual county treasurer does. So I'm glad we were able to have this discussion so people could learn a little bit more. You know, for me and for all the people watching, I think it's important to know that I am working hard, and I have been working hard. I've been on the campaign trail since September, that I am going to be the best candidate to get us to victory in November. We know that prior to Andy Meisner becoming the county treasurer, that this was in Republican hands forever, and most of our other county seats. And so we want to make sure we have the candidate who's really willing to do the work and get out there and build coalitions and get people to turn out in November. And personally, right, I've been working really hard. I know I've met with people all around the county. I've been speaking to them, not just as a candidate, but also as a legislator. You know, when you're talking about the different Democratic clubs that I've spoken with, indivisible groups, Moms Demand Action, all these different groups that I've been going out there and really working with them. And I think people recognize that I'm a hard worker, that I am progressive, that I have been a leader in Lansing, but I've also been able to really build coalitions across the aisle. And I think that's something that's going to be important here, right? Is that someone that can come in on day one and has some existing relationships and is able to build some more relationships to really get some things accomplished here in the county. And so I think the work that I've done has really positioned me well to be the next Oakland County treasurer and to thrive and do well from day one, right? Coming in and picking up the torch from Treasurer Meisner. Again, he's done a great job. And so that's why I'm running, is because we need a strong candidate in November who can win. You know, we've seen, unfortunately, the direction that our federal government is going. And I could tell you from working in Lansing that we are heading in the wrong direction with the leadership that we've seen. And so in the legislature and with the president. And so I think it's really important that we right this ship, that we get people out to vote in November. And I can tell you that whether I am the Democratic candidate for treasurer or not in November, I look forward to working with all of you to get Dems elected up and down the ticket. I think it is so important because it's frustrating. I can tell you this, as working in the legislature, working in the minority as a Democrat, it has been really frustrating. So it's incumbent upon all of us to do the work that's necessary, to call our neighbors, call our friends, and make sure people get out to vote, or vote in the comfort of their own home, which they are able to do and should do. So I just, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to chat with everyone here tonight, to talk a little bit about who I am and how I would, what I would do as treasurer. For those that are watching at home, again, if you want to find out more about me and my campaign, please, go to my website. It's an easy one, www.robertwittenberg.com. And you can get it on there and volunteer. We'd love to have more people volunteering. We're building a coalition. I have a lot of endorsements, thankfully. All my legislative colleagues, Democratic legislative colleagues in Oakland County, Brenda Lawrence, Dana Nessel, a lot of mayors and council members. You can go on my website and see all the people that are supporting me. And I think they are supporting me because they know that I'm a progressive leader, that I'm going to do the work that's necessary, and that I will be able to come in on day one and do well as the Oakland County treasurer. So thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. And I look forward to working with all of you to get Dems elected up and down the ticket in November. Thank you, Vaughn.
Well, to just pick up on the representative's thought, I can't tell you how important it is in my mind that Democrats, beginning at the top of the ticket, are elected. We can't have another 4 years of what we've been going through, this nightmare. And let me say, I have a great deal of respect. Until tonight, I actually hadn't met the representative, but I know him by reputation, and I know him to be a decent, caring, and really a terrific legislator. And so the fact that I'm running in this election is nothing derogatory towards him. We need more men of ethics and morals like him in government. I'm running because I think I have a unique view and a unique capacity and a unique set of qualifications to serve. Many of the issues that we're going to be facing, whether we like it or not, over the next 6-8 months, I have had to go through directly, and really, unfortunately, I'm afraid it may be longer than that. I've had to look at nothing. I'm sorry, there was some feedback there. anyway, over the next 6 to 18 months, we're going to have to be dealing with many of the same issues. We're going to have to be dealing with financing issues. The commissioners are going to have to make difficult and careful decisions. And I think you need somebody with the experience and the qualifications who's gone through this. Unfortunately, I've gone through a number of economic downturns. And I've seen what it takes to get through it successfully, to get through it with better ratings. We actually, I think I mentioned to you earlier, we emerged from the Great Recession with a slightly higher credit rating and no debt. And so when it became necessary for us to look at hiring additional firemen and policemen and so on, we did have access to financing to bridge us to when the income would come in. So these are the sorts of issues. I've worked with people hands-on for 40 years. I know what affects property values. I know what people are thinking when they're purchasing property, investing in businesses. And these are the kind of things that I think are needed. 40 years ago, when I went up to the treasurer's office to get documents for either a tax lien or foreclosure notice, they would go back in the corner and pull out dusty boxes. Well, thank God we've got past those days now, and we've had some quality leadership which has moved us forward over the last 8 to 12 years. But we need to keep that going. We need to be transparent. We need to be open. We need to support the diversity in our communities and empower our local governments to serve the needs of the people. And I think the treasurer can be an effective instrument of that policy. Thanks a lot for having me tonight.
All right. Well, thank you again to Councilman Bob Corbett and State Representative Robert Wittenberg. Thank you to all of you for joining us tonight. This has been one of the things that we've been looking forward to the most, is being able to put these forums on, and obviously we're hoping to have them in person, but this is going pretty smoothly, I think. And as we move into election season, I'm going to ask you all, please stay in touch with us. Please make sure you sign up for our email list, subscribe to our YouTube channel, make sure that you're liking our Facebook channel, make sure that you're following us on Twitter. We are at, I'll put it in the show notes. But we're trying very hard to make sure that we're here and we're ready for you as we move into election season. The challenges that we're facing just keep getting more and more difficult. And we want to be here for you. We want to try and make sure that we're able to provide and get Democrats elected up and down the ballot this November. So thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Thank you to our guests. And please stay safe out there.